welcome you watching World 360 with me, Akanksha Swaroop. This week, India downgraded diplomatic ties with Canada and the two sides have expelled half a dozen diplomats, each after Ottawa has claimed that the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats were persons of interest in an investigation into the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. We take a closer look at why ties between India and Canada are going downhill. And over to the Middle East. In the end, the mastermind of Hamas's October 7 attack, Yahya Sinwar, died brutally in the rubble of Gaza like tens of thousands of victims of the war he unleashed a year earlier. No doubt, his surprise death will shake the region's destiny again, leaving Hamas leaderless and Gaza without any governance, with perhaps only a slim possibility of hostage release and a ceasefire. We'll deep dive into those stories, but first up are the headlines.
Israel Defense Forces confirmed the killing of Hamas's top leader, Yahya Sinwar, chief architect of last year's attack in October on Israel that sparked the war between Israel and Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that though the account was settled, the war was still not at its end. Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group said it was moving to an escalating phase in its war against Israel, while Iran said resistance will be strengthened after the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Indian government said it was cooperating with the United States on charges leveled against an Indian national to plot to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon. Ministry of External Affairs said no such individual is currently working with Indian intelligence agencies. India and Pakistan should bury the past and think of the future, said former Prime Minister of Pakistan Nawaz Sharif in a bid to reach out to New Delhi after External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's visit to Islamabad for the SCO summit.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's stunning revelation on India's involvement in K-terrorist Nijjar's killing has made him look foolish once again on the global stage. After Canada named India's envoy to Ottawa among the persons of interest in the investigation into Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing, on Monday, Trudeau's flip-flop continued even on Wednesday with his remarks before the Foreign Intervention Inquiry that Canada had no hard evidentiary proof to support allegations linking India's agents to the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar last year. India has been hard-hitting in response to Canada's allegations and has slammed Trudeau's politics of pacifying Khalistani groups in a bid to incentivize his vote bank ahead of elections next year in Canada. Meanwhile, Canadian former National Security Advisor Jodie Thomas stated that initial intelligence and police probes suggested that Nijjar was killed in retaliation for the murder of Ripu Daman Singh Malik, who was accused of involvement in the 1985 Air India Kanishk bombing. Hours after India withdrew its diplomats from Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on Monday, of course, alleged that agents of the Indian government were collaborating with the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to spread terror on Canadian soil. India has strongly denied Canada's preposterous imputations and warned that it reserves the right to take further steps in response. Weeks before the India-Canada ties took a nosedive, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, or the CSIS Director Vanessa Lloyd, has acknowledged that Pakistan played a role in influencing the country's politics and that Islamabad's actions were tied to their support for the Khalistanis. Meanwhile, Canadian Sikh Jagmeet Singh has called for diplomatic sanctions on India over its alleged role in the killing of Sikh extremist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now remember, Jagmeet Singh's party, the NDP, is in alliance with the Liberal Party of Justin Trudeau. At the same time, it should be noted that the panel probing foreign interference in Canada's elections of 2019 and 2021 has found China to be the biggest threat to Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, while deposing, acknowledged intel regarding Chinese intervention as far as Canadian elections is concerned. Is Trudeau using the Nijjar killing case to project India as a fall guy and save China? That's the biggest question we are also probing.
I think, Commissioner, what I would add there is the context that engagement of Pakistan is consistently in balance with trying to reduce the influence of India. And so some of the elements that I mentioned previously about the dynamics between suppressing voices can also have the opposite effect in terms of amplifying other voices. And in this particular case, influence of Pakistan is directly related to support of Khalistani extremism. So there's a different type of voice there, and yet it is also a more limited actor on the broader screen.
All right, former MP from British Columbia, Kenny Chiu, joins us live with more inputs. Mr. Chiu is also somebody who deposed before Canada's Federal Inquiry Committee against China's alleged election intervention. Mr. Chiu, thank you so much for joining in. Now, as somebody who has been an alleged target of a Chinese disinformation campaign, one that was aimed to dissuade Chinese Canadians from voting for you, you're also someone who lost his seat in the 2021 election because of foreign interference. What's your assessment of Prime Minister Trudeau's testimony on foreign intervention?
I think the Prime Minister is famous in obfuscating, issues and also conditions, and also he's actually quite infamous in offloading responsibility as well. To understand what I said, all one has to do is to look back on the past 3 years since the last election, 2021, when the allegations of foreign interference and political interference electorally has been reported. And the initial response from Justin Trudeau, the Liberal leader, and his government has been nothing but denial. And their accusation at the time is that the Conservatives, particularly the leader of the Conservatives, Aaron O'Toole, have been nothing but just a sore loser. And, denial, and denial. When that is not satisfying, when even the national security intelligence apparatus in Canada could not tolerate the government continue to sweep all these intelligence reports that they have provided under the rug, they had to decided, people in the national security apparatus decided to take the unimaginable step of being a whistleblower. And they have exposed many of the reports that they have warned the government, the intelligence that they have provided to the government,
Right.
and how the government had decided to not act and protect Canada. And based on all that, finally, the government of Justin Trudeau had decided to succumb to the pressure. But instead of doing a public inquiry, digging to the bottom of this and see how wide and how far for an interference get, Justin Trudeau had decided to hide behind this special rapporteur.
That's why I want to ask you, Mr. Chiu, before I go further, I'd also like to know more about the alleged Chinese election interference and the entire disinformation campaign against you. What was your experience back in the year 2021?
So one need to understand that this public inquiry of foreign interference actually has two phases. We're now in phase two. Phase one was laser focused in the previous two election in 2019 and election in 2021. Particularly in 2021, we actually have come to the conclusion that there are the Communist Chinese Party, the CCP, in PRC, they have actually engaged in political interference activities in Canada. The way they've done it in this case is to spread by spreading disinformation, by spreading fear in social media that they control. There's a huge diaspora community that relies on these social media, and therefore by spreading disinformation in these social media, they were able to conduct cognitive warfare on people, and they were able to convince people that candidates such as myself are anti-Chinese, anti-China, and therefore it's not worthy to be supported. And by doing that, they change people's mind. Um, After the election, when the Canadian Security Intelligence Service whistleblower had decided to spoke to media, in the Canadian media, the Globe and Mail had reported that one report even was able to find out that according to the PRC, their desire is to allow the defeat of the Conservative and to put in place a liberal
All right.
minority government.
That's why, Kenny Chu, going by Mr. Trudeau's deposition at the Commission of Inquiry, he has only confirmed the Indian position on the Nijjar killing, that the Canadian government has only provided intel, not any form of hard evidentiary proof. Now that the panel is probing the foreign interference in Canada's elections of 2019 and 2021, which has already found China to be the biggest threat to Canada and not India, is Justin Trudeau using the Nijjar killing to project India as the scapegoat to save or rather shield China?
Well, before I begin, one has to allow me to stake out that as a Canadian, our government, I believe our government has a highest priority of a government is to protect its people and protect its country, and therefore, allegedly, if something similar to what was reported had happened, that a foreign country had decided to conduct operations in Canada in even assassinating our Canadian citizens.
Right.
This is something that a national government must not tolerate and has to respond with strength. And this is what I think all Canadians are agreeing. It doesn't matter whether it's Justin Trudeau, Liberal government, or the Conservative government. I think we all agree that a national government's primary objective is to protect Canada and its people. Now, having said that, Justin Trudeau's inconsistent treatment of the Chinese interference file, comparing with what the alleged Indian assassination attempt in Canada, had actually brought up a lot of people's good questions or questions and curiosity. Because on one hand, based on national security intelligence, he decided to jump on his feet in the floor in the House of Commons and point without any subtlety finger at the Indian government as the Nijjar's killing. But on the other hand, we know that he has not have any evidentiary information yet that he could share with the Indian government.
But that's why I want to ask you, Kenny Chu, when it comes to protecting the people of your country as far as the role of the government is concerned, what about the defacing of Hindu temples with anti-Hindu graffiti, vandalism, defacing of the idol of Mahatma Gandhi? There's intel information about how under Trudeau leadership, Khalistani gangs with the help of ISI are operating drug and prostitution nexus, even an immigration cartel in Canada where youths are being hired from the state of Punjab. Of course, the Trudeau government is being a mute spectator. Is this not appeasement politics?
You know, that they will treat it, give a special treatment to the Indian government. I believe there is a possibility of inept government, incompetent government. And we know that in Canada, we have been seeing a lot of issues and crimes that we do not see before Justin Trudeau became a government. Now, I would like to separate the issues of foreign interference from what you describe as mostly crime and criminal activities, issue to do with human smuggling and all that. Because in Canada, in 1993, we need to understand that the federal election in 1993 elected a majority Liberal government led by Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. Now we have the second largest party and usually that's a official opposition, the loyal opposition party, granted with a lot of power and also resources. And in 1993, the official opposition party, the second largest party, was actually the Bloc Québécois. The Bloc Québécois' mandate it's to separate from Canada, and so they were in a short period of time as a official opposition. They were using the resource power granted to them to appeal to foreign countries in preparation of recognition of a separated Quebec. So Canada, it's a country that believes in freedom of speech, even to the level of tolerating separatism. The Bloc Québécois was Canada's official opposition party,
All right.
granted with prestige and also resources. Now, so we will, as a national government, we will not control people's speech or even thought. While we respect Indians' government's sovereignty in their territorial integrity.
And while Canada respects the freedom of speech, we do hope that it manages to conduct free and fair elections come 2025. Many thanks to you, Mr. Chu, for joining in on World 360.